Good morning, children. Today's session, it's a poem, a photograph. So let's begin the session. A photograph. First, the summary. The poem is a tribute to the poet's mother. So in this poem, the poet pays tribute to her mother. She's looking at an old photograph of her mother, which has a frame of cardboard. The picture has three girls, in which one is the oldest, the middle one is the oldest and the tallest. It is her mother when she was 12 years old or so. Beside her, on both sides, are her two cousins, Betty and Tolly, who are holding her hands and are younger than her. They went for paddling on a beach holiday. Her uncle took the photograph. Then the poet could not help but notice her mother's sweet face. This he touched her terribly transient feet. Transient, that which is temporary, short-lived. The feet is not transient. The whole body, the human body is transient. We are all temporary in this world. The sea touched her terribly transient feet, which depicted that she changed over the years and the sea remained the same. No changes take place in the sea, but human beings, lot of changes happen. Human beings take birth, then pass through different stages of life, grow old, and one day die. After 20-30 years, her mother would laugh at the photograph. She would make the poet look at the photograph and tell her how their parents would dress them up for the beach holiday. The beach holiday was her mother's favorite past memories, while her love was the poet's favorite memory. Both of them lost something which they cherished a lot and yet cannot live that moment again. Now, when I was a small child, all the enjoyments that have happened, can I relive those moments? No, those days have gone. It's the same here. Those sweet moments were memories now. Now the poet's mother had been dead for the past 12 years, which is the same number as of her age when the photograph was taken back then. She cannot express the grief that she has from her mother's absence. So she's very sad now. This is a poem, that is a photograph, is a poem composed by Shirley Tolson that has themes of nostalgia and melancholy. What is melancholy? Sadness. It has the theme of sadness. The poem can be considered to be a tribute to her mother. Yes, it is a tribute to her mother. Whose mother? The poet Shirley Tolson. In the poem, the poet talks about finding a photograph of her mother, which evokes fond memories. The poet Shirley Tolson found a childhood picture of her mother. In the picture, her mother was around 12 years old. That means when the photograph was taken, at that time, the poet's mother was 12 years old. And with her, on both sides, were her cousins Betty and Tolly. The picture is from the time when her mother went on a beach holiday for paddling. The poet recalls that her uncle took the picture. Okay. In the picture, the poet saw her mother holding hands with her cousins standing near the water. Seeing the water touching her mother's feet, the poet sadly expresses that even though her mother went through changes due to aging, the sea remained unchanged. Human beings are subject to so many changes because of aging process. The poet recalls that it was 20 or 30 years after the photograph was taken. The poet's mother would happily bring out the photo and show it to her. Her mother would tell her stories of how their parents would take them for holidays on the beach and got them dressed for the holiday. And that would make the poet's mother laugh. The poet's mother would cheerfully recall the beach holiday as a favorite childhood memory with a laugh. To the poet, her mother's cheerful laughter in these memories is the most cherished memories of her. The poet longingly looks at her mother's sweet face in the picture and with much regret accepts that those moments exist only in her memories as her mother is no longer alive. The poet sorrowfully makes a connection that in the picture her mother's age is 12 years old. Her mother was 12 years old at that time, age is 12, which is the same amount of time since she passed away. This evokes an overwhelming sense of grief in the poet which she cannot express. She feels that death has not just silenced her mother's sweet laughter and cheerful voice as she recalled her childhood memories. However, it has also silenced the poet. It has made her speechless. See, that's about the poet Shirley Tolson. Name Shirley Tolson. Born 20th May 1924. Henley-on-Thames, United Kingdom. Died 15th May 2014. Education BA Literature from Brockenhurst College in London. Books: The Drovers, The Celtic Year, a celebration of Celtic or Celtic Christian saints, sites and festivals. See, children, she's Shirley Tolson, the poet. The picture that you see on the screen is that of the poet Shirley Tolson. She wrote the poem, a photograph. She had written the poem, a photograph. That's the picture of the poet who? Shirley Tolson. Look at that. A photograph. What's the central idea of the poem? Shirley Tolson's poem, a photograph, is a tribute to her mother. So it is a tribute to her mother. The poem describes 3 stages in the passage of time. In the first stage, the photograph shows the poet's mother standing at the beach enjoying her holiday with her 2 girl cousins. She was around 12 years old at that time. The second stage takes us 20 or 30 years later. The mother would laugh at the way she and her cousins were dressed up for the beach holiday. In the third stage, the poet remembers. What? What does she remember? The dead mother with a heavy heart. The photograph revives a nostalgic feeling of the poet. So now we'll have a look at the stanza-wise explanation. The cardboard shows me how it was. That's a poem. When the 2 girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. So this would be easier for you in case you don't have a textbook. Word meanings: cardboard, very stiff paper board on which the photograph was pasted. Note down the word meanings. Paddling, walking through shallow water in bare feet. Big girl, mother is referred to as the big girl as she was the eldest among the 3 girls. Now the explanation, children. An old photograph of the poet's mother which was pasted on cardboard makes the poet recall the old memories of her mother's childhood. The photograph is a depiction of her mother's enjoyable moments at a sea beach with her 2 cousins who were younger to her. They were walking in shallow water with bare feet near the beach. The mother was standing in the middle and holding hands of her two cousins who were standing on each side. The poet's mother was 12 years old then. Then means when the photograph was taken. It shows that the photograph was very old, but the poet has kept it carefully as it reminded her of sweet memories of her mother's childhood. The photograph also indicates how enjoyable her mother's childhood was. That means what? She enjoyed a lot when she was a small child. Who? Her mother, the poet's mother. The second stanza, all three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. A sweet face. My mother's that was before I was born, and the sea which appears to have changed less. Washed their terribly transient feet. Okay, now the word meanings. Still, without moving or shaking. Smile through. Smiling faces could be seen through their hair, which was flying over their faces. It happens when it is windy. Yes, children? Okay, terribly, extremely, transient, temporary, lasting only for a short time. Let me tell you here, human life is transitory or transient, short-lived. Explanation. The photograph shows that all three girls, the poet's mother and her two cousins, stood still and smiled at the camera when their uncle was taking the photograph at the sea beach. As the weather was windy at the time, the hair was flying over their smiling faces. The expression on the faces of the poet's mother and her cousins was what? That of happiness, that of enjoyment. The mother was looking very pretty at the time, and the photograph was taken a long time ago. Everything has changed since then. Her mother grew up, now she was dead, and the poet was reviving her memories, cherishing old memories, as we say. Yes, the only thing that has remained unchanged is the sea which was washing the feet of all three girls. The mention of the word transient indicates what? The ever-changing human lives. Human lives are subjected to so many changes. Moreover, it is short-lived. If you compare with the world, in contrast to the eternality of nature, nature is eternal, never dies. Whatever changes happen are all temporary, not permanent. The girl's life, but human life, the changes that happen is all permanent. The girl's life changed drastically during this period, but the sea has not changed. That is why it is what? Human life is transient, but sea is not. The stanza beautifully explains the transient nature of human beings. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed us for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter, both wry with the labored ease of loss. Snapshot photograph, dressed as, put on clothes, wry, disgusted, labored, achieved after a lot of hard work. Done with great effort is labored ease, comfort. Explanation now. Even 20-30 years later, the mother would look at the photograph and laugh nostalgically, remembering the happy memories of her past. Mother would look at the photograph and comment on the dresses worn by the cousins, Dolly, Betty, and herself. Sea holiday was her mother's past, and her mother's laughter has become a thing of the past because she's no more, she's dead. It is a matter of the past for the poet, as her mother was now dead. The poet still remembers how her mother would laugh at the photograph, remembering the sea holiday with a fondness as well as sense of loss, because that time would never come back. In the same way, poet feels nostalgic thinking about her mother and her laughter, which has become a thing of the past. The words labored and ease are opposite to each other, but describe the same entity, loss. Now she's been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived, and of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. See, look at that. It's silence, silences. Circumstance, situation, silences make someone unable to speak. Now the poet is speechless. She's got no words to explain her sorrow, her loss. Yes, explanation. The poet recalls that it is nearly 12 years since her mother died. The poet is consumed with grief and pain. Why? Because she has lost her mother. The poet is totally absorbed in memories of a dead mother. The painful silence of the situation leaves the poet speechless. The poet can feel the grief but is unable to express it through words. The silence caused by death makes the atmosphere gloomy, sad, where no one else is able to utter words. Poetic devices used in the poem. Very important, very, very important. You must know. Allusion. An allusion is a reference or an incidental mention. You mention some incident here, okay? Incidental mention of something, either directly or by implication, directly or indirectly. An example of allusion in this poem is cardboard, which actually refers to the photograph. See, indirect mention of photograph, what is it? Cardboard. So it is an allusion. Okay? Alliteration, this you all know. All of you know this. Alliteration is a repetition of the initial letter, generally a consonant of several words making the stressed syllable in a line. Examples: terribly transient. See, the letter T is repeated. Silence, silences, S is repeated. So therefore it is alliteration. Transferred epithet. A transferred epithet is a description that refers to a character or event but is used to describe a different situation or character. Transient feet is an example of transferred epithet in the poem. See, it refers to human feet, but it is used to describe the lack of permanence of human life. See, here transient is used with feet, but actually, what is it? It is life which is transient. So, instead of life, the word that is used is what? Feet. Yes. So, it is a description that refers to a character or an event, but it is used to describe a different situation or character. See, feet. But here we are not talking about feet. We are talking about human life as a whole. Yes. Transient means short-lived, temporary. Oxymoron. Oxymoron in this literary device, there are two opposite ideas that are joined to create an effect. Labored ease, two opposite ideas. Labored, very difficult, ease means easy. In the poem is an example of an oxymoron. Labored meaning with great difficulty and ease means comfortably. Both words have opposite meanings but they are clubbed together. So therefore oxymoron. See, words of opposite meanings are clubbed together, that is oxymoron. personification. I think you already know about personification. The example is, its silence silences. The situation has been given human quality of silence. That is when an inanimate object is given human qualities. That is personification. So you have to remember this. Children, look at the picture there. The poet's mother with two cousins, Betty and Dolly. See how beautiful she looks in the picture. Yes, children. So the poem Photograph is about what? Transience of human life. Very important, very important. This part is very important. Death and mysteries surrounding them. The poet is looking at the photograph of her mother and missing her. The photograph depicts the scene of her. The poem, The Photograph, is about transience of human life, death, mystery, depicts the scene of her mother's childhood when she along with her cousins, Betty and Dolly, and uncle had gone to the beach. Mother's childhood when she along with her cousins, she had gone to the beach. So it is about the transience of human life. It depicts the scene of what? Of her mother's childhood, and that life, human life, is transient. Yeah. She had gone to the beach with Betty and Dolly and also uncle. Yeah. So human life is transitory. Yes. So that's all about the poem. Note down all that I have done in this session. Yes. Go to the poem, write down everything that I have done in this session. Okay, children. That's all. Thank you. Goodbye.